What is up, guys, and welcome to the Meeple Minded podcast, the podcast where we talk all things tabletop gaming. My name is Jason.
And I'm James.
And James, is a special week this week.
It is.
It's our first guests of 2023.
Exciting.
It is very exciting. So, on that note, guys, please welcome Pearl and Amar. How are you doing, guys?
Hello.
Hello.
Lovely to be here.
Good. So, we'll dive straight in and cover everything. You guys have got a game coming out, which we are going to talk about later. But obviously, we would be remiss if we didn't get to know a little bit more about you. So that's why you're here today, isn't it? To talk all things games, yes?
All things games and about us.
Yeah.
Excellent stuff.
Although that intro music, I must say, blew me away. I honestly, I was like, oh my god, are we gonna... Is this the opening to a Lord of the Rings film or something? I love that.
I'm not going to lie, we're both quite heavy into films as well. And I think, James wasn't with me when I started the show, but I always wanted something.
I was here
epic.
when you picked that theme music, though. It was just like, no, that one.
That one, yeah. That is a strong opening. I love that.
It sets way too high a bar, though. That's the only problem.
I did think that. I was like, we better talk about something really serious with this music. This is going to war music. So, yeah.
Well, I'm glad you like the music. That's at least the first 30 seconds of the podcast will go well. So that's always good. That is always good. But yes, let's talk games, because I'm hoping at the very least we all like games.
No, I can't stand them.
Well, we don't care about you, James. We really don't.
You drag me along to this thing every week.
I do. But we first met you guys, it was probably, it was nearly a month ago at this point, wasn't it? At the Paradice board game convention, I believe it was.
Yes, and worth it. It's I want to say it was the 10th or 11th of February, so almost
Yeah,
a month.
it doesn't feel like it was that long ago.
No.
It really doesn't.
Wow. Damn. Well, there we go. And obviously you were there demoing your new game, and it was really nice to meet you. I think I kind of feel sorry for you because, the listeners will know already because we've talked about it a little bit on previous episodes, but, we came to you right at the end of the day, and we'd had a full day of gaming and I guess getting fed up with each other, backstabbing and all of that, and it just carried on. So we apologise up front about that.
I think that's what the game's for, really. You turn up, sabotage, backstab, and hopefully someone ends up winning. Hopefully.
Yeah, it's definitely our kind of game. I mean, Paul snuck the victory because we were too busy. No.
Yeah.
That happens when people get too focused about messing with each other, but fun was had by all, right?
Definitely. We were talking about it quite a bit on our train home as well, so that's always a good sign. So, thumbs up for that. Well done. You've managed to have us talking on the way home. I mean, I'm looking forward to the Kickstarter. You've got a backer in me, I can guarantee that. And I've got to admit, one of the things that I didn't think about so much when we were playing the game, but actually in the days that followed, was that artwork. I loved the artwork, and it's only recently that I noticed that you're using Rob.
Rob Ingle, yeah.
Yeah, obviously, James, I don't think you really know Rob, do you?
I don't.
Rob Ingle is the artist behind Pugs and Mugs.
Ah.
So, we have a few games of his that we do like. Anyway, we're going to talk about you guys now. So, let's start with Amar. Where did you start in the hobby? What are your earliest memories from gaming and stuff like that?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, actually. I think gaming for me started, well, I guess like a classic, with the classic games, the classic family games. I think Monopoly was definitely the big one, and a game that never ended in my family, created extreme rivalries that could last an entire holiday season. So lots of memories of playing that. And then I think, again, picking it up at university and then having, friends and people to play with, going to board game cafes, which I think really started to explode, and trying new and different games. So, nice. It's been a good few years.
I mean, Monopoly is a banned word at our gaming club, isn't it, Jason?
Yeah, it's very close that we nearly kicked someone out when they turned up with a game of Monopoly once.
I can guarantee you, I don't bring it around anymore.
No. I mean, it's not a game of Monopoly, though, is it? Unless you don't talk to the people you're playing with for like 3 days afterwards.
I mean, I always class that as a good thing because it means I got to not talk to my family for 3 days.
Yep.
So,
Well, yeah, pros and cons. Yeah.
exactly. What about you, Pearl?
I think I got into it properly around uni time. I started playing contract bridge during uni. So it's a, obviously a card game where when you play in pairs and tables of 4, and it's this very serious, logical sort of no luck game. But the same group of people who taught me contract bridge also really liked board games. So we just hung out and played a lot of that. Those are the people who introduced me to my first economic game, Power Grid. I love it. It's behind me on the shelf. And yeah, it sort of got a bit out of control from there, if you will. I still remember the good old times where we could, play board games overnight. And I don't think I have the stamina anymore, but they are fond memories there.
So there'll be no 24-hour charity stream for you coming soon then?
Too old for this.
They might be, but they'll have a nap for about 8 hours in the middle.
We'll take turns.
Well, they never said you had to actually play for 24 hours. The game just had to be out, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
Cat might destroy it, but hey, we could try.
Well, yeah, exactly. So you actually came into the hobby quite late by comparison to everyone else then?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, before that, I knew Monopoly, dare I say. But yeah, I guess it's a good kind of thing where you can sort of get into the hobby and accept it and learn about it all as an adult. And it's actually a very welcoming community for, people who find it at whatever point in their lives, right? So, yeah.
No, that's good. That's good. And Power Grid, that's a hell of a game to really fall in love with so early on.
Yeah, I'm a bit weird. Just to balance it, I also want to say that I don't just play games like that. I also enjoy social deductions, and I've actually found RPGs as well about a year ago. So I play D&D every week.
Okay. Yeah, I remember we had a little conversation when we were trying to come up with a date for this recording, and you said that you had an RPG night that you didn't really want to miss, which I'm totally understandable of. I don't want to get in the way of anyone in their gaming. So other than James, I, as I've said many times, I don't care about James.
But that's fine because I'm usually gaming with you.
This is true. Yeah.
The caring bit came through when you were playing the game.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, we do. Outside of board gaming, our friendship is solid. But inside of gaming, it's every man for himself.
Oh yeah. What about you, Amar? Do you have regular game meetups?
I wouldn't say regular. I'd say irregular. Often with Pearl and some other friends. Yeah, I think something I need to pick back up after 2 years of lockdown, for sure. And also, it tends to be a lot of my gaming time does end up being playing Cake of Doom for understandable reasons.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's one of the things you've got a game that you're making. You've got to play test it, haven't you? That's the truth of it. So, how long has Cape of Doom been in the works, shall we say?
I would say we're coming up on 2 years.
I think it's 2.5.
Yeah, 2.5. We've crossed 2 years. Yeah, all started. First lockdown was, I think, the seed of the idea, and from there has avalanche to 8 days before a Kickstarter, which is.
I was going to say blossomed, but sure, avalanche works as well.
Blossomed, avalanche. Yeah, it depends on your frame of mind, really.
How did you find the lockdown affected all of that kind of jazz? Because obviously playtesting must have become a bit difficult.
Yeah, it is really interesting. So I suppose our first experience of playtesting was entirely digital. But I think we were really lucky in that some fantastic groups and Discord communities really spun up around it, which gave us access to lots of willing participants. And it's such a fantastic community that people were still keen to play games, to give valuable feedback. And so, a lot of our early playtesting was completely digital. And then you start thinking about the logistics of, right, how are we going to take this digitally tested game and test it in person? So suddenly in-person testing felt like the weird bit.
It's also so weird with the time of the game. I think it's obvious when you play something online that the timing just works differently. And there are bits that doesn't matter online, but that matters in person, like backs of cards, right, and things like that, which we just didn't think about for ages because it was all digital. On the plus side, though, games already on Tabletop Simulator and Tabletopia and Screen Top. So at least we learned all that fun stuff about putting the game up digitally early on.
And of course, when you're doing it digitally, it is easier to make changes. So if between playtests you want to, change a card or change an idea, it's very doable. Obviously, once you've got hard copies, you can cross things out and rewrite them and whatever, but it's just a bit more challenging.
It's not the same, is it? Like, especially if because you guys have obviously got a very nice. I guess that's your final prototype that you've been demoing with.
Yeah.
At this point, it would be an absolute nightmare for you to change that. I'd imagine.
It's almost like printing things costs money.
Yeah, I mean, it's just rude, really, charging people when they're trying to provide a service of a new game.
I think charging people in general, terrible. I don't know why people do it.
Well, it's interesting you mentioning about how during the pandemic, a lot of it started off digitally. Having been through that, do you think that will now become a standard in game development to actually do it digitally first, iron the kinks out before you go and get a prototype copy made?
For me, it feels like the digital playtesting has become more prominent to see. Like, obviously, its peak was more during the pandemic, but the designer groups are still quite active and so on. But I don't think physical prototypes will go away. I think there's a reason why people like analog gaming, if you will. Like, personally, I play computer games too, but it's a different type of entertainment for me. And I think because you want the games to be physical, the playtesting person is always going to be there. And there's a lot down to the designer and their circumstances. Like, I've met people during all those early playtesting where they actually live quite far away from like friends and family or playtest communities. And actually the digital scene gave them the ability to playtest a lot more than they could have. So it's probably gone up in usage, but physical in-person playtesting still need it. Can't replace it.
Yeah.
Just got to go with the card-sleeved, handwritten components sometimes,
I think there's an element of charm as well to a very early prototype of, like you said, handwritten cards with little, stickmen doodles on, and stuff like that.
And asking people to imagine being like, this will have a card back, I promise. This will be coloured in. It will have everything. Just, give me some feedback on this concept.
Yeah.
Is always very fun.
I mean,
I've actually kept all our old prototypes, the ones with, the crossing out and the handwriting. There's 2 drawers of it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it's going to live there forever.
I just think in I don't know, 5 years' time, when your game is in every single shelf outselling Exploding Kittens, someone will want to pay thousands of pounds for that initial prototype copy.
We'll put it in a museum.
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect. But no, I've got to say, like, at the start of the pandemic, especially, because one of my best friends, in fact, other than James, probably my best friend, actually lives in the Netherlands. And, he moved out there many, many years ago, and I've missed him every single day because we used to play games and all of that. And we never even thought of Tabletop Simulator. We both owned it, but we never thought of actually playing a game together on that. And then obviously the pandemic happened and, Tabletop Simulator exploded and then suddenly everyone had it. And, our gaming club, which we run every week, closed down. And we were all sat there like, well, what do? We're used to going out on a Monday night and playing games. And we switched it all onto Tabletop Simulator. And I was then able to include Ed into that. Yeah, I've been playing regular games on there with him ever since. Even though I don't particularly enjoy playing games on Tabletop Simulator, I find it very, very fiddly. And give me some cardboard and some dice any day. But to be able to actually play games with people overseas is fantastic. And I can well see that people playing games in the UK are very different to people playing games in the US. So I'm guessing you now have that ability to actually playtest with a massive range of people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we found that, right? We were doing online testing, and the people we were getting feedback from and the people whose games we were trying were from all over the world. And I think, I must admit, we're also very fortunate to live not too far away from some great board gaming cafes in London, but to have access to such a broad network of people, a network that are very intelligent, who know what they're doing in the gaming and the game design space was invaluable, I think.
I actually signed up to a sort of a community-ran tabletop mentorship program at early days. They sort of just match you up with someone. It could be designing, it could be publishing, it could be art. content
Yeah.
creating, anything, right? And the first time I got paired up with was a lady called Raven, who's based in the US, who's been designing games, and it was remarkably helpful. She played as a game with us. I still in touch sometimes, and it was, in a way, a pandemic had some silver linings, and I think this explosion of the virtual scene is one of them. If it wasn't during COVID, I probably wouldn't have tried to sound to anything like that, and I probably wouldn't consider doing mentorship like that remotely. But it's all for the better.
It's quite interesting to hear as well, isn't it, James, to actually hear about mentorship with regards to game designers, because, I think as normal everyday players, you don't think about that kind of thing. You just sort of think, oh no, a designer sits down with a pen and paper and just bang, there's a game, and it's overnight. And we've talked to so many designers now and have come to understand a lot more about, the backstage parts of the business, to know that it's actually, no, it takes a ridiculously long time to get a game made, and especially to the point where you can go, we're going to do a Kickstarter, because it's not like the olden days of Kickstarter where you could go on Kickstarter with your Stickman cards and go, this is the game I want to make, but I'm here to get money because I can't afford to make this. Whereas now, with the likes of Cool Mini or Not, and upping the game overall of Kickstarters, that no, you've got to have the art done before you go on Kickstarter. You've got to have the game basically ready to go, and that you're there to go, yeah, we've done all of this stuff that costs an absolute fortune, and now we just want to put it into production, which kind of defies the point of Kickstarter, if I'm honest, but that's an argument for another time. But how have you found the design process overall? Has it been a stressful endeavor for you, or did you find it come quite naturally to you?
I think I wouldn't say stressful for a design process. I think in a way, in a way, the days where we were focused on the game design mostly was more enjoyable than the more recent days where we also have to worry about marketing and manufacturing and logistics, right? I found it really helpful to have two people in it together. I think it sort of allows you to bounce those ideas off. It also keeps you going, because otherwise it's so easy to just kind of shelf something, right? You maybe have a bad playtest or get a bad piece of feedback, and it could be disheartening. It's hard to keep things going. So having two people, I found, just really kept the project going, feeding energy off of each other. Personally, I think the biggest thing I learned on designing was I wish we were braver to try bolder things quicker. We kind of learned that eventually, but I'll give you an example. Right? Early on, we in the game, there used to be both cakes and toppings, and we used to have sort of more complicated maths where if you had cakes with the right toppings, it'll be worth a bit more, and you add up all the values of all the cards. And in a way, people like that because you get the feeling of stacking things up, you feel clever. And then it wasn't until one playtest where I literally had a playtester write down numbers. Like, she had a notepad and like a pen, and she was doing maths on the side. Like,
oh wow!
And finally went, you know what? Maybe it is too much math. And don't get me wrong, maths in games are a thing, right? I was talking about Power Grid. You definitely do that, but that doesn't make sense for the game we were shooting for, which is your light-hearted 15-minute, everybody having a bit of fun. But it took me months. I think I was being really weird about it, but I just loved it. It's a good thing, and I can pick up bits of feedback that said it was good. So it took us so long to actually try it without. And now we don't have it because it makes sense.
I can definitely understand why the game was a bit heavier weight to start with if you love Power Grid.
I can stop bringing that one up as the example.
I think that does talk to the challenges of game design, because I also, that's probably the part of the process that I enjoyed the most. It's the bit where you get to be innovative and think about new and different things and talk about ideas, and who doesn't love that? But the challenging bit is when you have a piece of feedback on a feature that's really good. It's a really good piece of feedback, and you have another piece of feedback on the same feature that is not good. And you sit together and you're trying to figure out, where do I go with this?
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. I know myself and my previous co-host, Ian, we got together and we were going to do a train-based game, but it was going to be a cooperative train-based game. Because we sort of looked at it, and at the time we were really into the co-op games, and we both love trains. It's like, there's no co-op train games out there. This is a massive thing in the market. And I now know why there's no cooperative train-based games. I just did not have the time or the patience to sit down and actually. I mean, I did quite a bit. I did a lot of rule stuff. I did some pre-production stuff, like you said, the stickman cards and all that kind of thing. But yeah, that's about as far as it ever went. I've still got all the stuff, and I keep thinking that one day I might have a crack at it again. But it's finding time to actually meet up with Ian to actually brainstorm my ideas and things like that. And yeah, it's a lot harder than some people might understand.
Yeah.
Even on the lighter weight stuff. And I arguably, I think I said this when we talked to Chris about Zuli. So I just told him, I said, you know what? I think anyone can make a complicated game, because anyone can just stick rules upon rules upon rules upon rules that just complicate the whole issue. Coming up with something that's simple and easy to understand is hard.
And that's one of the big levers we have when we're thinking about the game, when we're thinking about making decisions. One of the questions that we always try and ask ourselves is the increase in complication or the increase in what you have to remember worth the value that a player is going to get from this? Are they going to enjoy this enough that it's worth another line in the rule book or another thing to do? And I've definitely found that a really good mechanism for us to decide, is it in or is it out? And it works for us, right? It is designed to be a game that you could pick up very easily and get right into. I imagine that other games of different weights have different balances that they're trying to match. But for us, that's always been a great question to ask ourselves, I think.
I think that and starting to talk about giving ourselves a complexity budget was really helpful, right? We're basically okay, this is about the right weight and teach now. So if we're going to complicate something, we need to streamline something else.
Nice. Good way to be.
So on the subject of game mechanics, do the two of you have a particular favorite type of game mechanic you look for when you're deciding to play a game?
I think I've already touched on economic games. I am quite a sucker for that. It's not for every table or occasion. But Brass Birmingham, for example, is another game I really like. If I go to the other extreme, I've been trying to diversify my shelf a bit. So I've been trying to look for things that work for a bigger group, say like above 6-7 people, and that I can play with friends who weren't there to pay attention or who weren't necessarily there to play games. They were there to socialize, and the games happen to exist.
Yeah.
And I don't have enough of those things. So, yeah. That
what are you talking about? Brass Birmingham's perfect for that.
Just your casual, yeah.
Exactly. That's an entry level game, surely, 100%.
What about you, Amar?
I think I do enjoy a good co-op game, even if like a Pandemic, I guess, is 100% co-op. I think some are kind of semi co-op. So I recently played Between Two Cities with a few friends at work. I don't know if you've tried that before, but you're trying to simultaneously build two cities on both sides of you with the person who's sitting right next to you. And you're playing against the person who's opposite in a 4-player game. And I just really enjoy it. You get to, maybe it's the kind of collaborative element, you get to sit and talk to people and think about what's the best strategy, how are we going to get out of this situation or get into a situation perhaps. I really enjoy it. I think that's because I do play games for the social aspect and, something to chat about, something to really get your teeth into, get your head around a problem. And so, yeah, for me, I would pick a co-op game every time.
It's kind of a man after my own heart there. And I know James as well. We are all about the social aspect of games. Yeah, this is another reason why I wasn't a huge fan of the transition to Tabletop Simulator. Because it was just sort of like, yes, I'm playing games with people and I'm talking to people, but I can't see them. I'm not here sat around a table. The one thing I love about tabletop games and always have is the fact that there's no screens.
Yeah. Anywhere,
and James will attest on my game nights, phones are banned. Yeah. They're not allowed at the table. So yeah, I'm quite militant about it. And I'll be honest, I've never actually asked you, James, what sort of game mechanics draws you to a game?
Well, unsurprisingly, Jason, you might know that I'm a great fan of gotcha mechanics.
Yeah, take that, yeah.
So social deduction's another one. They're always great fun. I do also like I tend to go for the slightly heavier weight games. Unsurprisingly, Nemesis is my favorite game, which has elements of co-op, elements of social deduction, elements of gotcha.
Yeah,
sci-fi themes, that's why that's my favorite game. But it depends what the mood takes me. I like strategy, a little bit of sort of RPG, I suppose. Not fully RPG, but if the theme is that immersive that you feel like you can get into it a little bit. I'm not really a maths guy, but I also enjoy it where the game's theme is there enough that you don't actually realise you're doing maths.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. It's a nice sort of array of game mechanics that we have available to us on the market now, which is brilliant. And I think for me, like semi-cooperative is a real highlight for me because I love cooperative games, I really do. But I also, as I'm sure you have figured out, I like to cause carnage. So having that traitor mechanic in there, it's the cherry on top of that cake. So yeah, semi-co-op for me is one that immediately stands out to me if I see it on a box or on Board Game Geek or anything like that. But
yeah,
have you had much dealings with Board Game Geek? Are you users of the BGG, or are you sort of not fully into that yet?
I'm a silent user, so I'm 99% of internet users who browse the content, but to be honest, doesn't contribute much on there.
Yeah.
We did put Cake of Doom up on Board Game Geek, so there is a page. But one thing we sort of thought about quite early on was because it's quite a casual game and it's a bit more mass market as well as we didn't sort of invest a lot of time into building up the BGG necessarily. Outside of the hobby, if you walk up to a person on the street, they might not have heard of BGG sometimes.
This is very true.
Yeah.
I'd think of it as the Google for board games. So I'll check everyone there. What are the ratings?
Yeah.
And then I also I like to find games that I really like and then look up their ratings on BGG and then place my own. Like, nah, this entire community's got it wrong. This game is the best. This is a 10 out of 10. like an argument with myself on BGG.
You do get some strange behaviors, don't you? Like recently when Gloomhaven got unseated in number one, there was, the whole drama around.
The shots fired with that. I mean, James is one of those. He's not a Board Game Geek user, but I was just sitting there. I might as well have been sitting there eating popcorn, watching the fireworks go between Brass Birmingham and Gloomhaven. It was hilarious. Like the coveted number one spot on BGG's like best games of all time, and it's just sort of like you're deliberately dive bombing like reviews on the other game in order to make the game you prefer look better and take because it knocked it off the top spot. It's just sort of like, do you know what? I love people that love certain games that much, but really?
Yeah. I mean, listen, if I could make it to BGG spot number 2, I'll take it. You won't see me dive bombing spot number 1. That's for sure.
So, what games are you enjoying at the moment? That's a question I think I could ask.
Everdell's been played a lot in my flat recently. It's because I've been trying to get my partner into board games. He's more of a role-playing game person historically. Okay. But Everdell's just really got his attention, so we've been playing it lots. Might have to invest in expansion soon.
I think for me, I recently played Decrypt, which had an element of semi-cooperative, but as you can imagine, trying to figure out what the other team is doing. So in the game, you're on a team, you are trying to decode what the other team's doing or the other team's words before they can decode yours. So it's my work is in the blockchain space, so naturally anything that talks about decrypting or crypto gets everyone at work a bit excited.
That's an interesting concept that you enjoy playing games that kind of revolves around your day job. I would have thought that most people try and avoid it. Like, yeah, I don't know. If you're a train driver, you're not then going to want to go and play Ticket to Ride every day.
I don't know. I think if I was a train driver, I'd probably be sitting there thinking about Ticket to Ride as I'm driving my train.
Yeah, I would probably do exactly that and then forget to stop at the stations.
Yes.
Because I'd be too busy thinking about the game.
Yeah, literally.
Tell me which line you're on. I will avoid that one.
Yeah. It's probably a wise idea.
Literally your only job.
No, fair enough. There's two pretty good games there, and I will say, Everdell is one that has escaped me quite a bit. Like, I've got people that want to play it with me, but it's aligning those times, like because I don't actually have that one yet, It is my mission to own every single game under the planet at some point, but my partner will disagree with that considerably. But at the same time, she doesn't try and stop me. You know, she'll send me pictures. Go, oh, you should buy this game. It's like, you're supposed to be stopping me spending money, but I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, but we all do that. It's a fun side hobby. It's
yeah.
Can I get Jason to spend some money? I don't know. Let's find out.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good board games group when you buy each other's games and then you just have mostly the same shelf.
Well, I don't know. Pretty much everyone in my gaming. It's weird. I'm in probably 3 different gaming groups, and every single one of them does the same thing. They all send the stuff to me. It's like, oh, look, this looks good. And I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll buy it. There we go.
Just maybe reflect on that, Jason.
Yeah. No, don't. In fact, I'll start sending you suggestions, and can become a thing.
I was going to say, technically, you're only down the road from us in London, and I spend most of my working life in London, so
well,
yeah.
Basically, next door. Let's do it.
Yeah, definitely. I think we are due a London trip for gaming at some point.
We are.
Yeah.
We are.
You say about the board game cafes that you have in London. Is there a particular one that stands out to you that you like?
Oh, I couldn't pick between them all, but I think near me is a place called D20, which I've been to for place testing. I've played a few games there. Mostly the milkshakes are amazing, so
I'm sold.
I do enjoy that. There's obviously drafts, which we've been to, and we've been to with friends. Down in the south, Tanuki, we've been to a couple of their playtesting nights, and they've got a lovely bar and a great setup. So
very nice.
You couldn't go wrong at any of those.
What about you, Pearl? Do you attend any game clubs or game cafes in London?
Yeah, Amar's got most of them for board games. We mentioned my RPG regular games. We do one. I have one of them that's in person at a place called Bad Moon Cafe, which they actually have a small board game collection. Yeah, but it's more wargaming and RPGs. So yeah, lovely place, lovely vibe.
Yeah, we I think that was probably a year and a half ago now.
Yeah, we went to drafts to have a look, but they were completely full when we went, so we just went to look around, and we went to Bad Moon as well, which we both really liked.
Yeah,
they know my regular drinks order now, so
that's either a good thing or a bad thing. Yeah,
always a good thing. There's no such thing as too much games.
Yeah, true. No, I really enjoyed Bad Moon Cafe. We keep saying we're going to go back. We also need to check out, is it Ludicrous in Croydon?
Yes,
we definitely need to check that one out. We do want to actually experience drafts as well at some point. Didn't know. Whereabouts is D20?
They have 2 branches. One's in Watford and one's in Uxbridge. So depending on how you get into London, it's pretty easy to get to, yeah.
I'm actually working in Uxbridge tomorrow. That's dangerous.
Well, definitely want to check out then. It could be ideal.
Yeah, the problem is I'm starting my working day in Uxbridge, so I think I'm going to end up having a very long day tomorrow now because I'm probably going to stop there for a few hours. But yeah, that's good. That's good. So yeah, I mean, we're going to head towards talking about your game a bit more in depth in just a second. But one thing that I did want to talk about was your decision to basically go down the small publisher route for your own game, as opposed to maybe trying to sell it to a bigger company or anything like that. Was there a particular thought process that went around in your brains with regards to that?
It's not everyone chooses to go down this path, for sure. And I remember us discussing it multiple times before sort of agreeing. But I think one big element for me personally is I was quite drawn to the idea of going through the journey of not just the designing, but also retaining the creative control and the ownership completely, and then trying to almost prove your worth by finding the audience and seeing that people love it and seeing that it can sell and it's commercially viable. And although not every single bit of that journey is personally enjoyable all the time, it's sort of something about going through that learning and trying it beyond the designing bit.
Yeah,
nice.
And I think it speaks to why we did this in the first place. And the whole idea was we wanted to see a game that we had completely created on people's shelves. If the game ended up on a shelf like the one behind you, that would be that's really the goal. It's so that people want to buy it, they own it, it's got our name on it, and they have fun, they enjoy it. So that's always been the thing that has driven us. And so when we put it in that context, the self-publishing route seemed to be the way to go. We wanted to go out there and meet people and share our game with them.
And I guess that's the beauty of getting back to Kickstarter and crowdfunding in general. That is the beauty of that, is going back to its roots of that's what it was for. It was to be able to, not just board games, but just in the concept of board games, it enabled people to take those games to the market and actually get a worldwide platform to show off the game, whereas, from what I've been told from various designers, they've gone to bigger companies with their games and sort of gone, oh yeah, no, this is pretty good, but we've got this on at the moment, then we've got this, and then we've got this. And these designers are just understandably very excited about their games and just want to get it out there to the market. And I think maybe that's a much quicker way, and I actually totally understand what you're saying about retaining that creative control, because I guess if you go to a bigger company, I'd imagine that then your game gets air quotes developed from a dedicated game developer as opposed to a game designer, which again I think we've talked about in the past, but I can't actually remember. It's always interesting, you hear about all these processes that happen within the industry, which again, going back to being just a person that plays the games, you do not think about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
One side effect of the whole journey we've taken so far is now every time you go to a shelf, you're like, I wonder what the sell sheet looks like for this game.
Yeah. How do they come up with this? Why did they make these choices and not these?
Yeah.
What was the rationale behind these components? All these questions that start swimming through your mind.
Like you said, it's just having to think about that marketing.
So it's about time to talk about the actual game then, I think, Jason.
I think we should. Are you ready?
I was born ready.
Excellent.
So, as we've already mentioned, me and Jason had our first personal experience of this game at Paradice gaming convention. But for those who may not know what Cake of Doom is, would you care to tell the listeners what the game's all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So, let me give you the storyline. In Cake of Doom, every player is an alien, and as aliens do, you're trying to take over planet Earth. And the way to do that is to take cakes in your hand and bribe different regions with them. And the way to win is to bribe 2 regions and then the democratic order of mankind, or the Doom, and that's where we get the name Cake of Doom. So, practically, how does that work? You will all have aliens that they have unique abilities. They're all different. It introduces some asymmetry to the game. And in your hand, you have a bunch of cake cards, which allow you to make bribes. And then you've got your mischief cards. And they let you do various things. They'll let you sabotage other players, brutally pull them down as you experienced. You can grab cards out of their hand. You can, in some cases, block some of their moves. And if you're lucky enough to get the cake monster, you can absolutely obliterate one of their bribes. So on your turn, you'll be making a bribe. Other people will sabotage you. You'll resolve that, and fingers crossed, get yourself a region.
Nice.
Yeah.
And if you're James, you will look forward to never winning anything and getting all your kicks sabotaged.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess my first question really is with regards to the theme, is like, what was the idea behind cake? And maybe not weapons or stuff. And I know you're going for a lightweight sort of family-friendly game, so weapons is a bad example. But what was the first inspiration of cake? Did you happen to be eating cake at the time? Was that an essential to the design process?
The cake is essential to the whole process.
Every meeting we have to have a slice each. That's can't be a Cake of Doom meeting without it.
That's definitely something we need to install when we're recording. Slice of cake or just a whole cake.
It's funny you ask about that, because I would say the theme is actually our most constant thing. The mechanics have changed quite a bit, as you can imagine, but actually aliens taking over the world with cakes was more or less there from the beginning.
Okay.
The game sort of came about when we didn't sit down and go, let's design a game. We were just chatting. We've been friends for, I think, about 10 years at this point. So we're just talking to each other. And I bake quite a bit. Amar bakes now and then as well. So the topic of cake came up. And then I think we were just spitballing. Oh yeah, you could, all this bad stuff in the world happening. We should just make everyone happy, give them cake. Yeah, aliens would do that. They would give people cake, and then that's where the theme came from. We just love the absurdness of it so much, and so do our playtesters and people we've shown the game to. So it's stuck.
And I really enjoy when we're at conferences, when we're at Paradice, and people walk past, and I'm like, yep, so this is a game where you're an alien, and you try to take over the world with cake. And it's at that moment, so conferences can be quite tiring, and people are walking past, especially if it's middle of the day, end of the afternoon, and they hear the idea that you're an alien taking over the world with cake and just burst into laughter. And I think that's why it's stuck, because I really enjoy that.
I mean, it's a pretty good strategy, to be fair, because, we'd never see it coming. Here's a cake. Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, exactly.
As I say, we've all been trained by Hollywood to know that, if an alien appears, we either need to send Jeff Goldblum up to blow it up, or we're done for. So
I'm really glad you made that reference. I really enjoyed that.
The question is, how many people will understand what I'm talking about?
Exactly, yeah. I often think, what would Jeff Goldblum do in this situation when we're...
Exactly, yeah. Get hold of Will Smith, jump in a crashed alien spaceship and go and blow the mothership up.
That's it, yeah.
It's one of my favourite films of all time, just for the record.
Me too. I really enjoy it.
Not the remake, but yeah, the original. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the original.
But yeah, no, it is a really interesting theme. I'll be honest, because it caught me off guard. To be honest, when we came over to play, and because someone told us to come over and play it on our way out. And they were like, "Oh, it's a take that game." And I was like, "Yep, I'm there." Thinking it was, going to be sort of a bit more of an adult theme, take that game. I sort of sat down. I was like, "Oh, these are really cool. I love the artwork. It's aliens, and there appears to be a lot of cake." And then sort of seeing the signs like Cake of Doom. Okay, cool. So are these like poisoned cakes? Are they? And then it was like, nope, you're just bribing people with cake. I like
Show them with kindness.
I love it. Friendly aliens. That's exactly what we need. We do. I mean, I'm not going to be friendly, but
you were not friendly.
We worked this one out. Which leads me on to, I think, quite an important question: is has anyone played the game as viciously as we did?
You were amongst the most vicious, I'd say. I think groups like yours tend to identify themselves quite quickly. You can tell where everyone can just bang over each other, be brutal, and it's part of the friendship and how it works. And on the flip side, you get groups where a lot of people tend to be nice, especially maybe family groups where some people might be, parents might be being quite nice to a young child. Not always, though. You'll be surprised.
No. I have to disagree with you there. Some of the most vicious games I've seen have literally been parents who sit down, and I expect them to be nice. I expect them to let their kids win, or at least help them, or at least not obliterate them, and then they sit down and just completely destroy their own children. And I'm like, what was the thinking there? And they're like, they got to learn. They have to know. Yeah, they have to know.
My son expects me to go easy on him. No. You need to learn the hard lesson of life, my son.
Yeah. And obviously, we try and not play too brutally, right? You can't bring people into your game, sit down, and then absolutely obliterate them on their first turn. It's not polite. So we try not to. But I
think I'd have a new level of respect for a game designer that did that to me.
I have not done that so far.
I don't know if you do the same thing, Jason, but I kind of do that with my niece. But then there is that measure of pride when she obliterates me all on her own. And I'm just like, I'm so proud.
You observe a funny thing where so we've had cases because the game's 3 to 6 people. Sometimes at events we get a mixed group, so maybe 2 people came down and then another couple went past, and then you end up with a mixed group where people didn't know each other. And you get this thing where at the start they would be mean to the person they came with only, right? If they're stealing a Kit Kat, they can steal it from their friend. If they're sabotaging, it'll be from their friend. But then after like 2-3 rounds, the boundaries get broken down, right? And there's no more rules. It's free for all, and it's fun to watch that transition.
Well, I mean, I'd like to say that I was pretty nice to you, when, for the majority of the game until you picked on me. At which point I switched my attention. So
that's what happens. Yep. I felt bad for James, so taking some of the heat off.
I mean, it was always inevitable. Paul always stays really quiet when he's playing games with us like that because he knows it's only a matter of time before we go into a war. And then he's like, yeah, I've got that. Oh, I've won. I don't care. Carry on the game. I want to keep being evil.
Yeah. It is expected with the two of us, isn't it? The only variable is who strikes first.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad it brought you that much joy.
It's good to hear we weren't the only group that went quite hard at that. But one of the mechanics that I absolutely loved about the game that we played was the fact that the amount of cards you get to draw goes up.
Yeah.
Basically, I think it's every round, isn't it? Every round of people. And I always remembered it getting back to me. I was like, oh, how many cards can I draw this turn? Oh, 5. Okay, so 5 of those take that cards. Well, do you not want some of those cake cards? No, I don't.
We're quite happy with that mechanic with where you draw more and more each round. I think it took us a while to figure it out, but it just makes sure you sort of end on a high, and it sort of pushes you to action, right? And it keeps things going, and it makes sure that it doesn't drag on, which is a problem with some take that games, right? But
100%.
It keeps things light and quick.
Yeah. And I think we combine that. So this is another change we had. Originally, it was all one draw pile. So you'd have cakes and mischiefs all together. And what we found is that it could be frustrating to draw cards that are not necessarily the cards that you want or the cards that are going to help you progress your game. So we did make the split. So you have cakes and mischief cards. So there is that interesting decision. And then combining that with the escalation of draw meant that as each round goes on, and for first-time players, as you become more familiar with the mechanics and what you can do and what other people do to you, you're drawing more and more cards. And there's a hand limit of 10. So it really encourages you, as you say, when you're drawing 5, drawing 6, drawing 7, really encourages you to empty your hand and make a big impact and do the big moves.
Yeah.
And hurt other people.
Yeah.
If you're
One of the things that I like the flip side to that drawing cards each round is something I find with take that games is sometimes they can be a bit too punitive if someone does get picked on. And especially ones that make you discard cards and things like that, it can very quickly get into a situation where you can't do anything, whereas you decided to take all those cards, which means you could punish me, but I always had something I could attempt to do, and by doing that you've hurt your own game sort of thing. Whereas it's not, even though you were picking on me, I could still had attempted plays. Whereas a lot of take that games, it's like, right, you've picked on me. You've probably made me discard down to about 2 cards and I can only draw another. All right, I'm now limited.
Yeah.
That extra draw always means your hand's filling up, which means it's not too punitive.
Yeah.
It feels good when you can do stuff, right? You're playing a game and you want to be doing something.
Again, this is one of the key things we always pick up on a lot of games is downtime. And, especially when you're talking games that have a much higher player count. So if memory serves correctly, Cake of Doom goes up to 6.
Yeah.
6, yeah.
Excellent. Oh my God, my memory's on fire today. It's brilliant. And whenever I sort of start thinking about 5, 6, 7, 8 players, immediately the first thing in my head is, oh my God, I'm going to be so bored because there's going to be nothing for me to do.
Yeah.
Whereas because of how this game works and the take that mechanic, you can't really take your eyes off the table because if someone is going to go for, to start bribing, you've then got those take that cards to go, oh no, actually, I'm going to attempt to stop you or I'm going to take away some of the stuff, and it keeps me interested in what other people are doing.
Yeah.
Unless I'm picking on someone else. But yeah, for the most part, if I'm playing the game properly, it's keeping me in the game. And I think that's a really good mechanic. I love the fact that you decided to split the decks and have 2 separate decks because it does give you a varied way of path to victory, which is another thing. I don't particularly like games that sort of shepherd me into a very narrow corridor of how I must win the game.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've given me an option, that's great. And yeah, like I said, I really did enjoy the play test that we did. And again, it didn't take too long either. That was the other thing. I think we did a 4-player game in about 20 minutes, half an hour, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was about that.
Yeah. And then first game as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't take long to pick up. It's a very simple game to understand, which is, again, as I said earlier, a good thing. It's a very hard thing to do. So big thumbs up for that one as well.
And did you? I didn't get to see your entire game. Did you get a chance to do cooperative bit of when you're sabotaging other people, you have a little discussion and you decide, am I going to take them down this time? Well, I suppose your playstyle suggests that you took someone down every time, but
I think the only time that we actually did that was probably right at the end when Paul was about to win and it was too late.
Yeah.
And we sort of, can we do this? Well, the best I can do is this. The best I can do is this. The best I can do is this. So we're one short.
Yeah. I see.
Yeah.
You want to build those alliances, allegiances early, know who your friends are, and then tragically screw them over.
Yeah, so that would be our top tip, I think, coming from us, is don't do what we did.
Yeah.
Or do. You clearly had a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, this is very true. Yeah. Whatever floats your boat. That's what we recommend. But no, I did quite like that co-op aspect. The fact that you can have that discussion as well, that was really cool. If you're not us, then it's definitely something I'd recommend doing. Even when we play full-blooded co-op games that have no take that mechanics, no traitor mechanics, nothing, we still end up finding a way to argue about something.
Yeah.
And
I love being the medic and being like, yeah, I'm not going to heal you. You can die.
Yeah. I'm not allowed to be the medic in most of our games.
Understandably.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you guys came over and played the game. It's like a match made in heaven.
You mentioned I thought you might have mentioned this before we were recording, but we're at time of recording 8 days away from your Kickstarter launch. How do you feel right now? Is the pressure starting to get you? Are you cracking under the skin? No?
Like an egg going into the cake.
Exactly.
It is very exciting. It's feeling very real right now. It's strange because we were writing things, putting posts on social media, but it sometimes doesn't feel real until you're really close. And I remember the other day I was checking in a group of fellows or small publishers, like, guys, if I press this button, does it actually happen? Like, is this it? And people were like, yeah, that will be it. And I'm like, oh shit, I can literally do it right now. It's like a big red button. And it just felt so real. So yes, very exciting. But I must admit, quite scary as well. It'll be our first time running a Kickstarter, and we I think as prepared as we reasonably can be. But there's just so much you can still get nervous and worried about, and you can still overthink it. But I'm just trying to focus on excitement right now. How are you feeling, Amar?
Well, we've made the decision to hit the big red button, or I think on Kickstarter it's a big green button. And we're going to hit that at Aircon because I think that would be, I think that's going to be better than if I was sitting in a room and pressing the button and then just, twiddling my fingers and waiting for people to do something. I think we're excited to get at Aircon, launch it there, and then be interacting with people, talking to people, drumming up the interest, and making things happen.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you going to have like a scannable QR code or something at Aircon so that if someone's just play tested your game and it's already live, you can go, right, scan that and give us your money?
That's what it says on the sign.
Yeah. with the meme of Fry holding the
Take my money.
Yep. Are you planning on attending any other sort of cons this year?
It is going to depend on how Aircon and the campaign goes, to be completely honest. We did UK Games Expo last year, so last summer, on the run-up to it. It was a lot of fun showing people. I think we both find that it's quite enjoyable to do marketing in person as opposed to digitally.
Yeah.
But yeah, it depends on how the campaign goes for sure, because annoyingly things cost money.
Yeah.
Yes. Whereabouts were you at Expo last year? Can you remember?
Hall 1, I want to say.
Hall 1.
Our neighbors were Ulandi Walls, and there was a RPG opposite us. It's a wee while ago, so I'm struggling to remember exactly.
It was, yeah.
Well, Expo has so many stands.
It does.
It is easy to just miss the corner or walk past.
What we are going to do at Aircon, and we did this at UKG, is to bring our trusty alien costume, which is inflatable. So fingers crossed, we will be impossible to miss at Aircon.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I'm sure I can speak for both of us when I say, if you are at UKG this year, we will definitely be coming over for another game because we will be there.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So if you do end up being there, we'll look forward to seeing you. Unfortunately, we can't make Aircon this year. That's another one on the list for next year, I think. But,
There's more and more events each year, isn't there? I swear.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this is, technically, the Paradice Game Convention was James's first game convention.
It was.
Whereas Expo was meant to be his actual first. And I think we can probably still class that as a first.
I will say that will be my first full-size gaming convention.
Yeah.
It will be Expo. It was meant to be last year, but I couldn't get the time off of work.
Yes.
Ugh.
Yeah,
I look forward to hearing how you find it.
I'm interested to see how he's going to find it, to be fair. Because I mean, my first time at Expo was 2 and a bit years. I think it was the first one since the lockdowns had finished.
Mine too.
Oh, was it? And yeah, that was it was interesting because I only did one day and I did the Friday. I was really happy because I still managed to get everything round, but I didn't manage to play any games, which other than like the odd play test here and there.
Yeah.
But that depressed me because it's like, no, I need to play more games. So obviously the following year, all 3 days I was there, and the Thursday night I was there as well. So
what I do enjoy seeing is at Expo, I found so everyone has different coloured wristbands. Was it wristbands or lanyards? It was lanyards.
Lanyards.
Yeah. And you notice the people that had the one day, and they were walking markedly quicker than the people who were there for the whole weekend because obviously trying to fit everything in.
Definitely, yeah. I think James will notice that as well because it's hilarious. Like, I always find, when they do the big doors open in the morning as well, and you get all the videos outside of people running into the hall. It's like, they're day people, right there. They're day people because they need to get in and get on a game as quickly as possible.
Exactly, yeah. Lunch is a quick, snack in the bag or something. Whereas if you're there for the weekend, you're
just a bit more laid back.
Exactly. You know you're going to see everything.
I can play test this now or I can play test it later. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I've got plenty of time. But no, it's good. Did you have quite a few people interested in the game at Expo last year? Or
Yeah,
it was a good sign-ups. What we were pushing for was marketing was pre-launch page following and mailing lists, really.
Yep.
I think we learned a lesson a little bit on the first day because that was our first event where we had a stand and we weren't just playtesting the table. And there was a little bit of warming up to not just chatting and telling people about the game, but also actually pushing for that action, which you do just have to do, right? Ultimately, as part of marketing. So there was a little bit of warming up to get our act smooth. And then, it was a good amount of interest. Definitely got tiring towards the end, I won't lie, because you're just on all the time. And also, you also want to see the expo, right? And see some games. So,
Yeah. I know that we, as we sat down for dinner, we did not talk.
No.
It was like...
sick of each other.
Yeah.
I think last year it was Mill of Descent Games' birthday. And, of course, they decided to do a birthday thing after Expo, and of course I felt so sorry because obviously anybody else I've spoken to when they've been exhibiting all day, all they do is I'm going back to the hotel and I'm going to sleep. I'm going to have a boiling hot bath, rest my throat, and then go to sleep. But of course, being Mill's birthday, they were dragged out. There was some alcohol involved, and a lot of games were involved. And it was just sort of like I remember at about midnight, I was sitting there going, "Do you know what? I'm up early in the morning. I'm going to go back to the hotel and go to sleep." And yet Mill was carrying on. And then I remember seeing Mill the next day, and I didn't even speak about the night before, and just assuming that her mindset was, I shouldn't have done that.
The regret is real.
The regret was indeed real. But that's definitely something that you've hit upon there. Like when you're exhibiting at Expo, it's not as pleasurable as you might think it might be. Like, because you are literally, doors open at 10, close at 7, but I am talking solidly for 9 hours.
Yeah.
I am going to guess, as you said, your throat was a bit sore in the evening, was it?
100%, yeah. But I mean, UKG is definitely tough. Even at Paradice, we spent the whole day talking away, and we love that, right? We said before that the fun of it is going there and talking to people in person, but I definitely had a nap on the train back, that's for sure.
I bet. I'm surprised we didn't, to be fair. Yeah, We played so many games that day. That normally just knackers me out completely. But
Wrapping the high from Kick of Doom.
Yeah.
What can you say?
well, yeah, there you go. See, it's all that sugar. That's what it was. All that sugary goodness.
That virtual sugar, yeah.
So, I, as a prolific Kickstarter backer, or crowdfunding backer is what you have to say now, isn't it? Because there's so many different crowdfunding platforms. I personally would like to know, have you got anything to surprise me with your campaign coming that you want to tell me in advance, maybe? Like maybe you're some stretch goals that you're particularly interested in, or maybe some add-ons that you hope you'll be able to do, or
there are some pledge tiers that we're super excited about. So we've got your kind of your basics. You can purchase one game. You can purchase a game with a game mat, which you had the opportunity to play with at Paradice. It's got a little space for the regions. It shows you where to put your different cards, discards, that sort of thing. So you can do game with add-on game mat. You can buy the game. You can buy 3 copies of the game, 5 copies of the game, and that'll be at a slight discount. But the pledge tiers we're super excited about, and there are only 6 of these. They are where you get to get the game, of course, but also work with us and talk to us about ideas you have for either an alien, a sabotage, or a cake. So if you are sitting there thinking, you know what, I want my favorite cake in the game, or I love aliens. You could even be inspired from the aforementioned movie that we discussed and think there's an alien there that I would love to see in the game. Then you can be part of that process with us and make your suggestions for the design of that part of the game. And then when you buy it, you can say,
that's mine.
This is mine. Yeah, this is my idea. We worked together on that. So
I saw that evil smile when it was mentioned that you can design your own sabotage card. I think we know which one Jason's pledging.
Well, we'll see how funds are at the time. UK Games Expo is coming, but that I will be looking at that tier.
We might have to we might modify it now a bit to say if your name is Jason, this is going to be double.
Yeah.
No, that sounds really cool, and I, at the very least, you'll probably get one from me for the game and the mat, because the mat was really good and it definitely made the layout of that game so much simpler as well, and it just looked really, really good on the mat. So yeah, you'll definitely get that one from me, and I'm a sucker for neoprene mats. What can I say? I think that's all of our basic questions that we were going to ask you. James, have you got anything extra you want to ask?
I think we've covered pretty much everything.
Oh, blimey.
I know, we've done well.
We have, and we've kept it to a fairly good length for you guys. So I want to say thank you personally, one, for putting up with us and introducing us to the game and then probably regretting it straight away.
Not at all.
But yes, thank you for coming on again and having the chat and letting us get to know you a bit better. Have you guys got anything else you want to talk about before we let you go off into the night?
I mean, if you're not careful, I think we can talk about Kick of Doom and games all day.
Oh, we probably
yeah. We've already told you we could talk for 3 days, so at the expert.
No, but thank you so much for having us. It's really fun playing the game with you and coming on here. And last thing I'll say, please check out the Kickstarter. All the listeners out there, come on in, play Kick of Doom, back us.
Definitely.
It'll make the world's difference.
Well, it's definitely an endorsement from us, let's put it that way.
Yep.
100%, we love this game. Really, really good. And the artwork's fantastic as well. Rob's done an amazing job with that. Before we go, I'll hand the floor over to you. Tell the people all about your Kickstarter, when it goes live, how they can follow you on all the social medias and all of that stuff that we're supposed to talk about. Over to you.
So we're going live on the 10th of March. You can find us on Kickstarter. You can also find our website, cakeofdoom.com, and on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Cake of Doom Game. And please do reach out to us, share it with other people, give us a like, tell us what you think. We'd love to speak to as many people as we can.
Awesome.
Excellent.
That's fantastic. Well, again, thank you very much for joining us, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on here.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Hopefully, we can get another game with you at some point. I hope that Aircon goes really well for you, and I hope the Kickstarter goes exceptionally well for you. I look forward to celebrating with you at some point in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome stuff. On that note, should we say goodbye, James?
Let's say goodbye.
Let's do it. Join us next week, guys, for more tabletop gaming goodness. Until then, I have been Jason.
And I've been James.
And I've been Pearl.
And I've been Amar.
See you next week, guys. Ta-ta. Goodbye.